Cycling and fighting are not words you mix together so lightly, unless you're Conor McGregor, of course. But when tempers rise, disputes happen, and we get some juicy cat fights or maybe some actual kung fu fighting. For that, we'll look at times when cyclists shouldn't quit their day jobs to ones that maybe should consider a career change for the sweet glory in the ring and not other reasons. Take it away, Michael.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Usually in a bike race, the race organisers are the untouchables, but not in the case for this race organiser, after he got between the 2002 world champion and the Giro stage record holder Mario Cipollini. Cipollini might have wanted to punch the motorbike rider, but what he did, in his eyes, is the next best thing, and that was to flung his water bottle instead. The race organiser and the UCI didn't buy the excuse of saving weight and throwing it away while it was empty, so he ended up disqualified from the race as a result. In the 1997 Tour de France, on the sprint stage finish of stage 6, Tom Steels resorted not to his fist, but instead he took a note out of Cipollini's book by throwing a bottle in rage to one of his opponents. From the frustration that he was boxed in with the sprint and unable to move, Steels then was disqualified for this act. Also included is a relegation from Eric Zabel due to improper sprinting, and a doping offence for Jamaluddin Abdul-Japarov, which would see him eject from the tour as well. You can tell then tensions were very high at the end of this stage. It's a surprise that there wasn't a full-blown riot after this stage was done. A more recent event, we look at stage 6 of the 2014 Volta of Portugal. We see at just nearly the end of the race, two cyclists by the name of Vicente de Mateus and Enrico Rossi just casually scrapping the same way I'm sure the Yates twins would have scrapped when they were 6 years old. Thankfully we got some fellow riders to come along and stop them before it got even more cringy. Going back to the glory days of Sky and not Ineos, we have Gianni Moscan, who had built himself an unwanted reputation as the bad boy of cycling, and Mike Tyson eat your heart out basically. And in the 2018 Tour de France, he showed that side of him when the innocent French rider Ile Gisbert was struck by the Italian, all because he couldn't keep his cool. Nobody could see the innocent at first as it was in the background, but they spotted it afterwards and the incident left the rider in disappointment, being removed from the tour, and Sir Brailsford absolutely fuming. Ah yes. How could we forget this amazing moment? Miguel Angel Lopez appeared to have collided with a spectator on the final climb of stage 19 in the Giro d'Italia. Although the television cameras only picked up the aftermath of the incident, it showed Lopez punching twice a man crouched and cowering at the cyclist on the roadside before making the man's cap go flying. We'll definitely be seeing Lopez in the ranks of the lightweight division if his career goes down the Swanee faster than you could say Miguel Angel Lopez. Lopez thankfully kept his white jersey on and of course luckily escaped punishment from the UCI. In the 2019 Tour de France of stage 17, en route to Gap, we had Luke Rowe of Ineos and Tony Martin of Jumbo-Visma with what seemed to be having a discussion on the topic of rim brake versus disc brake, and Tony Martin was not having any of Luke's opinions on rim brakes being the better component. Which they are actually. So in typical retaliation, we got the German clipping the wheels of Luke, nearly crashing him into spectators on the side. The result, they were both removed from the tour. A bit harsh for Luke's sake, but as the saying goes, shit happens. At stage 16 of the Vuelta a España in 2014, we featured a clash between the breakaway riders of Rovni and Brambilla. Brambilla seemed to have got annoyed when Rovni, a Tinkoff Saxo teammate of Contador, changed the pace during the break. The Russian then tried to put his arm around Brambilla, very friendly, but he reacted angrily and lashed out. Ooh, meow. Rovni responded with a slap and the pair continued to ride in close proximity to each other for nearly a minute. Brambilla, who was then part of Omega Pharma Quickstep, now Deceuninck Quickstep, hauled his elbow out and ready to fend off Rovni. They were both disqualified from this race as a result of their actions. At the 2019 Multiland Giro, Max Welscheid was interrupted mid-interview by a flying fist from Florian Senechal following a manoeuvre in the sprint by Welscheid, which Florian didn't clearly like, as a sprint to the finish before this interview involved a crash that Welscheid was blamed for. Florian did apologise for this action, using the excuse that he was scared. like a wild animal that is scared that would lash out. Scared more because he came back from the surgery for his shoulder and that he felt lucky that he was actually still going on, where he would thought he would be left out again for the season. Sorry to break it to you, Florian. That's the risk you take in the sport. In the 2010 Tour de France, after stage 6 had concluded, we see everyone walking along normally, no problem, but then we see the Spaniard Carlos Barredo and the Portuguese rider Rui Costa come into blows with each other just out of the blue like that. You can't but help but laugh how random this fight breaks out when the cameras catch it. Jeez, forget about cycling and get Eddie Hearn on the blower and get these two in the ring for a pay-per-view bout. Imagine the money. At the focal point of the 11th stage of the 2010 Tour de France, a battle for position emerged between Garmin and HTC Columbia, and it heated up so much that we saw Mark Renshaw headbutting Julian Dean quite violently, and this fight for position proved detrimental for Mark Renshaw's Tour de France, and he was disqualified as a result of his violent outburst. And that's our 10 disputes, fights, bottle throws, whatever you like to call it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please tell us in the comments if we missed out any of the juicy fights. We would like to know for research purposes, of course. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please next to it click the bell icon so that you'll be notified when we post more videos like this. And as always, have a nice day.